Somebody's O has got to go in the welterweight matchup between Ian Garry and Shavkat Rahkmonov, which takes place December 7th at UFC 310. And I think that O is going to be Ian Garry's. Shavkat Rahkmonov, 18-0, 18 wins, all finishes, taking on Ian Garry, who's also undefeated, 15-0. Just think Shavkat Rahkmonov is the better mixed martial arts fighter. In terms of striking, he may not be the better striker. Ian Garry does have, great footwork, great in and out movement, stays defensively sound for the most part on the feet, but I just think Rakhmonov's going to get a hold of him and ragdoll him, honestly. Not sure why Ian Garry would take this fight on such short notice. Shavkat Rahkmonov he's an absolute monster for anybody on, a 12-week camp, let alone on, 3-4 weeks notice. Shavkat stays ready. So does Ian Garry, but you really got to have a well put together game plan, in my opinion, to beat somebody like Shavkat Rahkmonov, just with the way he's been looking lately. 30 years old, going into his prime, only going to be getting better. I just don't think taking this fight on 3 weeks notice is the best idea for somebody like Ian Garry. When you're an up-and-coming star, so to speak, like Ian Garry is, you got to take fights, you got to put on shows, you got to be impressive, but I mean, it's very important to protect that record, honestly. Being an undefeated fighter nowadays, everybody wants to be the next Khabib, become champion, go out on top, 0 losses. This just isn't a very smart move, in my opinion, for somebody like Ian Garry to take a fight on such short notice with somebody who's just a stylistic nightmare for him. Ian Garry, the UFC wants him to be the next big thing. They want him to be the next Conor McGregor, the loud, brash, striking phenom coming out of Ireland. Has been kind of spoon-fed opponents up until his last one, Michael Page. Michael Page is no joke, and he barely kind of squeaked by him on that one. But fighting not the best guys in the world, heading up to that fight, Jordan Williams, Darian Weeks, Gabe Green, Kanong Song, Daniel Rodriguez, Neil Magny. Shavkat would absolutely destroy Neil Magny. Ian Garry did, to a point, beat up his legs, kind of embarrassed him, but I feel like Shavkat puts Magny out in the first round. Both have a similar opponent in Jeff Neal. Ian Garry, again, squeaked by a decision, split decision. Shavkat choked him out. Michael Page, I feel like Shavkat gets a hold of Michael Page and subs him too. So I see this fight going kind of the same way that the Shavkat Wonder Boy fight went. I think Shavkat's just going to kind of bide his time. He's going to inch closer and closer to Ian Garry, get him to back up against the fence, and then he's just going to kind of rush at him and get a hold of him. Ian Garry hasn't shown to have lights out power. He's more of a volume striker. He has, TKO guys, but he's not one hitter quittering people, face planting them on the canvas like some of these other welterweights. So I see Shavkat, taking a few punches to get in there and get a hold of him, getting his hands on Ian Garry, putting him on the ground and choking him out. I don't really see any other way for this fight going. At some point, Shavkat's going to get him on the ground, and I think he's going to expose his ground game. Ian Garry, we haven't really seen him on the ground, so to speak, so, he could surprise us all in his fight against Shavkat. I just don't think that's going to happen. Nobody's really attempted to get him to the ground. He hasn't really fought a pure wrestler. I'm not saying Shavkat, and that's the thing, Shavkat's not a pure wrestler. Dude throws spinning back kicks on the feet. He's got knockout power, turning side kicks. Just so happens to be able to maul people on the ground as well. So I think Shavkat, he's not going to stand there and try to make a point with Ian Garry and beat him where Ian Garry's best. He's going to take him to the ground where he knows he has the advantage and drown him there. I appreciate Ian Garry's bravado here and his whole anybody, anytime, anywhere type of mindset, but you got to have the skill set to back that up. A lot of guys have that skill set, a lot of guys have that mindset, but they don't have the skill set to take on somebody like a Shavkat Rahkmonov, who's an absolute savage on the ground. If you're going to have that mindset and take these short notice fights, you better be able to wrestle. You better be able to counter wrestle. You better be able to, defend submissions. And I just don't think Ian Garry has that. I think on a 12-week camp, this fight would be a little bit closer, but I still think Shavkat Rahkmonov gets a hold of him and finishes him. So 3-round fight in this one. Neither of them are really going to have to pace themselves, so to speak, so I don't see Shavkat dancing around, conserving his energy, waiting for the right time to shoot. I see him going after him the same way he did Stephen Thompson. If he's got to hold him against the cage, tire him out, tire out his arms for the first round or so, he'll do that. But I see at some point in this match he gets him on the ground and either just completely dominates him there or ends up getting the sub on him. So gonna go with Shavkat Rahkmonov, 18-0, soon to be 19-0. I think he gets this win. And I think that puts him up there in, title contention. That'll be I think it's his seventh win in a row, potential seventh finish in a row at welterweight. I could see this definitely getting him a title shot, if not a title eliminator. Yeah, I just think this is bad. This is bad career choice by Ian Garry in taking this fight on short notice. I think he was initially supposed to take on Joaquin Buckley, which would have been a much easier matchup for him, just a straight stand-up affair. But I think Joaquin would shoot takedowns, but he's not going to be shooting takedowns like Rakhmonov is. Rakhmonov is just crazy strong. We saw what he did to Jeff Neal. I just think Shavkat Rahkmonov is going to be somebody that Ian Machado Garry's never fought before. I know Ian Garry is light on the feet, great with his footwork, in and out of his punches. Doesn't usually put him in a position to get taken down. Usually he's throwing, getting out of the way, circling away, but I think Shavkat's going to get in his face. He's going to be willing to take some of those punches just to get close enough to him. He's going to do exactly what he did to Stephen Thompson in this fight. Stephen Thompson built a career around being able to defend takedowns and land his strikes on the feet. He's defended takedowns against some of the best wrestlers out there. He had 2 fights with Tyron Woodley. Tyron Woodley could barely get him down. Shavkat pinned him against the cage the first round and then was able to get him to the ground in the second round. He had multiple submission attempts before he finally got that rear naked choke. And it just didn't seem like Stephen Thompson knew what to do once he was on the ground. So if that's what he can do to Stephen Thompson, who's, a crazy vet of the UFC, better striker than Ian Garry, better takedown defense than Ian Garry, then I think Shavkat Rahkmonov is going to have his way with Ian Garry in that fight and definitely get a decision. If not a decision, he'll find the submission somehow. Thanks, guys.